I just put a for sale sign on the lawn of our family lake house, the one I bought with 30 years of my own sweat and sacrifice. My daughter-in-law thinks it's because she called me too old for the 4th of July party. She has no idea what's really coming. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The late June sun felt warm on my shoulders. I was in my garden, the one overlooking the lake in Traverse City, carefully weeding around the rose bushes I'd planted a decade ago. Every summer here was a memory. I could still see a small Evan, my son, taking his first hesitant strokes in the clear water. I could almost smell the smoke from 100 family barbecues. This house wasn't just wood and stone. It was a library of our lives. The crunch of tires on the gravel driveway pulled me from my thoughts. Evan and his wife, Brooke, were here. Evan stepped out of the car and immediately wrapped me in a hug. "Hey, Mom, the place looks beautiful, as always." I smiled, hugging him back. It keeps me busy. Brooke, however, bypassed the garden. She walked a slow circle on the porch, her eyes scanning the log cabin I had designed myself. She ran a hand over the pine railing. "If only you'd update this place a bit, Mom," she said, her voice casual. "All this wood is a little old." I saw Evan's jaw tighten for just a second. It was a fleeting expression, gone as quickly as it appeared, but I saw it. He was annoyed. I just offered a tight smile. "It's meant to be rustic, dear. It's a lake house." "I know, but a modern touch wouldn't hurt," she continued, oblivious. "Imagine floor-to-ceiling glass windows here, and a new kitchen with stainless steel everything." She saw a property, a thing to be upgraded, like a phone. I saw the place where I had rocked my crying son to sleep, the place where I had celebrated my husband's 50th birthday just before I lost him. A quiet sadness settled in my chest, a small, dark cloud on a perfect summer day. Brooke didn't understand. She didn't see the soul of this place. She only saw the surface. And that was a problem. A few days later, we were all sitting in the cozy living room. The fireplace was cold, but the afternoon sun streamed through the windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Brooke was electric with excitement. She had her tablet out, swiping through photos and lists. "Okay, so for the 4th of July party," she began, not even looking up at me. "I've invited about 50 of our friends. I've hired a DJ from the city. He's amazing. We'll have a proper bar set up on the deck. It's going to be epic." Evan shifted uncomfortably on the couch beside her. 50 people, Brooke. That's a lot. Mom's oriental rug." "Oh, we'll roll it up," she dismissed with a wave of her hand. "This year will be different, Mom," she said, finally turning to me, her smile bright and condescending. A real party for young people. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. For 30 years, the 4th of July at the lake house was a family tradition. It was about grilling hot dogs, watching the kids swim, and setting off small, legal fireworks on the dock at sunset. It was never about a DJ. Then, she delivered the final blow. She leaned forward, placing a hand on my knee, her expression a perfect mask of concern. "And we were just worried about your health, Mom. All the loud, thumping music and so many strangers. It's just too much. It would be so overwhelming for you." I stared at her, speechless. "So," she concluded, sitting back with an air of finality, "we think it's best if you just stay home and rest. You don't need to come. We'll handle everything." The silence in the room was deafening. I looked at my son. Evan was staring at the floor, his face a mixture of shame and frustration. He didn't say a word. He didn't defend me. He didn't defend our traditions. In his silence, I felt a profound sense of loneliness, a betrayal that cut deeper than Brooke's selfish words. She wasn't just throwing a party. She was erasing me from my own home, from my own life, using my age as a weapon against me. And my son was letting her. The inciting incident wasn't the party, it was his silence. That evening, the house felt unnervingly quiet. The sun had set, leaving streaks of orange and purple across the lake. I sat in the dark, the phone feeling heavy in my hand. I couldn't let it go. I couldn't accept Evan's silence. I dialed his number. He picked up on the second ring. "Mom?" My voice was trembling, but I held it steady. I didn't want to yell or cry. I wanted an answer. "I just have one question, Evan. Is that what you think too?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear him breathing, the sound of a man trapped. I waited. I had waited all afternoon for him to speak. I could wait a little longer. Finally, he let out a long, shaky breath. When he spoke, his voice was a furious whisper. "No, Mom, no, I am so sorry. I'm so tired of her attitude. I'm at my wit's end." Relief washed over me, so potent it almost made me weak. He was still my son. "I've tried talking to her," he continued, the words tumbling out now. "I've told her a dozen times that she's being disrespectful, that she takes you and this house for granted. It's like talking to a brick wall. She just doesn't get it." I listened, my own hurt slowly morphing into something else, something colder, sharper. The businesswoman in me, the one who had built an event planning company from nothing, was waking up. Hurt was a feeling. Disrespect was a business problem, and business problems had solutions. "Then maybe words aren't the right approach," I said, my voice no longer trembling. It was firm. "What do you mean?" Evan asked. An idea, audacious and intricate, began to form in my mind. It was a high-stakes play, but Brooke had left me no choice. "She doesn't value what she has, Evan, because she's never been at risk of losing it. She sees this house as a free luxury hotel. We need to reevaluate the asset." "Reevaluate?" he repeated, confused. "We need to teach her a lesson," I clarified, the plan crystallizing with every word. "A business lesson. We need to show her the true value of the things she's taking for granted. But to do that, I need your help. Are you in?" There was another pause, but this one was shorter. It was filled with consideration, not conflict. "Yes," he said, his voice low and determined. "I'm in. What do we do?" The alliance was formed. The game was on. The days leading up to the party were a masterclass in deception. My first move was to call Brooke. I made my voice sound frail, resigned. "Brooke, dear," I said, a sigh carefully placed for effect. "I've been thinking about what you said. You're right. A big, loud party is too much for me these days. I'll just stay home. I hope you all have a wonderful time." I could almost hear the sigh of relief on her end. "Oh, Mom, that's so understanding of you. We'll miss you, of course." "Of course," I replied, the words tasting like ash. "Have fun." I hung up before she could say another word. The board was set. Now it was time to move the pieces. My next call was to my lawyer, a man I'd trusted for 20 years. "Arthur," I said, my voice crisp and professional, "I need a special service contract drawn up. It's for a short-term performance piece. I need it to look absolutely official." I gave him the details. He was a good lawyer. He didn't ask questions about the why, only the how. My final call was to an old friend from my college theater days, a man named Frank, who now ran a small troupe of actors. "Frank, it's Marilyn," I said. "How's your golf game?" We chatted for a minute before I got to the point. "Listen, I have a role for you, and for one of your best character actresses. It's a weekend gig. The pay is excellent, and the part is juicy. It requires a high degree of professionalism and subtlety. Are you free this weekend? He was intrigued. Marilyn, you always did have a flair for the dramatic. Tell me more. I laid out the scenario, not the reasons behind it, but the script they would need to follow. He loved it. By the time I hung up the phone, the key players were in place. To Brooke and the world, I was a forgotten old woman, sitting at home while the younger generation took over. In reality, I was a director, standing in the wings, waiting for the curtain to rise on the first act of my carefully staged production. The silence was the most important part. It was the space where Brooke's confidence grew, where her guard came down completely. She had no idea the storm that was about to break. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The night of the 4th of July arrived. I sat in my quiet home, calm, miles away from the lake, imagining the scene. I didn't have to imagine for long. Around 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed. It was a picture from Evan. It showed a group of strangers in swimsuits, dripping lake water all over the hardwood floors I had so carefully polished. Another picture followed. A half-empty bottle of tequila and sticky-looking glasses left on my antique mahogany coffee table. Then another. Someone's muddy sneakers propped up on the clean white cushions of the porch swing. The DJ's music was so loud I felt I could almost hear the bass thumping through the phone. Brooke was, of course, the center of it all. Evan sent a short video clip. She was laughing, a drink in her hand, posing for selfies while people danced wildly around her. She was the queen of her new kingdom, completely oblivious to the destruction she was presiding over. She didn't see the cigarette butt someone had stubbed out in one of my potted geraniums. She didn't see the red wine stain already blooming on the light-colored rug Evan had failed to roll up. Evan, my loyal son, my secret partner, was playing his part perfectly. He was the quiet, slightly disapproving husband, but no one noticed. He drifted through the chaos, his phone held discreetly at his side. He wasn't just a guest. He was my eyes and ears. He was gathering intelligence, documenting every instance of disrespect. The final message from him came just after midnight. It was a picture of the lawn, littered with plastic cups and paper plates. In the background, the American flag we always hung from the porch was drooping, forgotten. Below the picture, a simple text message. The evidence is sufficient. The plan remains in effect. I looked at the photo of my trashed, beloved lawn. There was no anger left in me. There was only a cold, hard resolve. Brooke had treated my home like a disposable party venue. Soon, she would learn that every action has a consequence. The party was just the justification I needed. Now, the real performance could begin. The sun rose on the 5th of July over a scene of devastation. Evan described it to me later. The house looked like a battlefield. The air was stale with the smell of spilled beer and smoke. The beautiful lawn was a sea of red plastic cups and discarded napkins. Brooke woke up late, shielding her eyes from the morning light. She came downstairs holding her head. "Ugh, my head is killing me," she groaned, surveying the disaster zone that was once my pristine living room. She nudged a discarded pizza box with her foot and sighed. "That was fun, but cleanup is going to be a beast." Evan was already bagging up trash, his movements methodical and grim. "It's more than a beast, Brooke. They broke one of the porch chairs." She winced. "Oops, well, we can buy a new one." She walked to the kitchen, stepping over a sticky patch on the floor, and poured herself a glass of water. She took a long drink, then looked around again. A small, unrepentant smile played on her lips. "Oh well," she said with a shrug. It was worth it. Totally worth it. Did you see the pictures everyone posted? Our party is going to be legendary. That was the moment. That was the final confirmation that she felt nothing, no remorse, no respect, only the selfish satisfaction of having thrown a legendary party. The cost, the broken chair, the stained rug, the trampled garden, the complete disregard for a place I had spent a lifetime building, was irrelevant to her. It was just collateral damage in her quest for social media glory. She saw the house as a stage for her life, and she was perfectly happy to wreck the set as long as she got her applause. She still had no idea what her actions had truly cost her. She was living in a fool's paradise, enjoying the calm before the storm she couldn't see coming. But the barometer was dropping, and the sky was about to open up. Her casual, dismissive phrase, "It was worth it," would soon come back to haunt her. Around 11 o'clock that morning, just as Brooke was starting to half-heartedly pile some cups into a trash bag, a sleek, dark sedan pulled into the driveway. A man in a perfectly tailored gray suit stepped out. He was holding a briefcase and had an air of crisp, no-nonsense professionalism. This was Frank, my actor friend, playing the role of Mr. Abernathy, a high-end real estate agent. He walked confidently up to the front door, where Brooke was standing, looking confused. "Good morning," he said, his voice smooth and polite. "I'm Robert Abernathy. I have an 11 o'clock appointment with the owner, Miss Marilyn Stevens." Brooke stared at him, her hungover brain struggling to process the information. "My mother-in-law? She's not here." "Yes, I know," Frank said, giving the messy porch a brief, disapproving glance. "She informed me she wouldn't be present. She asked me to begin the process immediately." "The process for what?" Brooke asked, a note of unease creeping into her voice. Frank didn't answer directly. Instead, he walked back to his car, opened the trunk, and pulled out a handsome, professionally printed sign. On it, in bold, elegant letters, were the words, "For sale." He strode onto the lawn, found the perfect spot with the best view of the house from the road, and with a few sharp, efficient thrusts, hammered the sign deep into the soft earth. It stood there, stark and undeniable. Brooke's jaw dropped. She looked from the sign to the man and back again, her face a mask of disbelief. What is that? What are you doing?" Frank walked back towards her, pulling a business card from his jacket. He handed it to her. "Your mother-in-law has decided to sell the property. She wants to proceed quickly and with minimal fuss. She said the house no longer suits her needs." He gave her a polite, unreadable smile. "If you have any questions, you should direct them to her. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to start taking the preliminary photographs." He turned his back on her, leaving her standing alone on the porch, staring at the sign that had just shattered her world. The first shockwave had hit, and it was just the beginning. The moment Frank's car disappeared down the driveway, Brooke's phone was in her hand. Her first call was to Evan, who was conveniently stuck in traffic on his way back from an errand I had invented for him. "Evan, you will not believe what is happening," she shrieked into the phone. "There is a for sale sign on the lawn. Your mother is selling the house." Evan played his part beautifully. There was a long pause, followed by a shocked, "What? That's impossible. I'll be there as soon as I can." He hung up, leaving her to stew in her own panic. Her next call was to me. I let it ring 4 times before answering, my voice calm and detached. "Hello? Marilyn, what is going on? There's a man here, and a sign. Are you selling the lake house? You can't." Her voice was a jumble of tears and accusations. I let a bead of silence hang in the air. "Oh, that," I said, as if discussing the weather. "Yes, I've decided it's time to liquidate that particular asset. Asset? She sputtered. It's our home. Our family's home. Is it? I asked, my voice turning cold as ice. It seems to me it's become a party venue for the younger generation. As you pointedly reminded me, it's no longer a place for me. It doesn't suit my lifestyle anymore. So, I'm making a business decision. A business decision? What are you talking about? This is about the party, isn't it? I'm sorry, okay? I'm so sorry. Apology noted, I said flatly. But the decision has been made. The market in Traverse City is excellent right now. It would be foolish not to take advantage of it. It's nothing personal, Brooke. It's just good business. Every time she tried to appeal to emotion, I countered with the cold, hard language of finance. I used her own logic against her. She had treated my home like a commodity, a thing to be used for her own pleasure. So now, I was treating it like a commodity, a thing to be sold for my own profit. She was sobbing uncontrollably now, a string of apologies and pleas and promises that she would clean everything up, that it would never happen again. I have to go, Brooke, I said, cutting her off. My agent is calling on the other line. I hung up the phone. There was no satisfaction in her tears. There was only the grim necessity of the lesson. She had to understand. She had to feel the consequences. And we were only on step 2. The next afternoon, the charade escalated. Frank, the agent, called Brooke to inform her that he had a very motivated buyer who wanted to see the property immediately. An hour later, his sedan pulled up again. This time, a woman got out of the passenger seat. She was the second actor I'd hired, a brilliant character actress named Carol. She was dressed in designer clothes, dripping with jewelry, and talking loudly into her phone. "Yes, darling, the view is divine," she said, loud enough for Brooke, who was watching nervously from the window, to hear every word. "But the structure itself is a teardown, a complete teardown." She snapped her phone shut and turned to Frank with a dismissive air. "All right, Robert, let's see this rustic relic." They walked through the house, which Brooke and Evan had frantically tried to clean. Carol didn't seem to notice. She ran a manicured finger over the stone fireplace. "Ghastly. This will all have to go." She strode through the rooms, Brooke trailing behind her like a ghost, her face pale with horror. Carol's commentary was brutal. "The kitchen is a joke. I'll need a commercial-grade setup for my caterers," she announced in the kitchen. "These bedrooms are tiny. We'll knock down these walls to create one master suite with a spa bathroom," she declared upstairs. The final devastating blow came when they stood on the back deck, looking out at the serene lake. "This is the real asset," Carol said, spreading her arms wide. "The land, the view." She turned to Frank. "The log cabin has to go, of course. I'll demolish it. I'm envisioning a modern glass mansion right here. Floor-to-ceiling windows, an infinity pool that seems to merge with the lake, and a helipad on the far side of the lawn. This won't be a quiet little family cottage. This will be the #1 party spot in all of Michigan." Every word was a poisoned dart, aimed directly at Brooke's heart. Carol was painting a picture of Brooke's own shallow desires, amplified to a monstrous degree. The modern updates she had wanted, the real party she had craved, here they were, in their most destructive form. She was being forced to watch her own careless wishes become a nightmare that would bulldoze every happy memory she'd ever had in this place. She looked like she was going to be sick. After Frank and the monstrous buyer left, a heavy silence fell over the house. Evan told me Brooke just sat on the couch, staring into space. The fight had gone out of her. The panic had been replaced by a deep, hollowing despair. She wasn't just afraid of losing a house anymore. She was being forced to confront what the house actually meant. She started to talk, her voice quiet and broken. "Remember when you proposed to me, Evan? Right down there, on the dock." Evan just nodded, letting her speak. "And remember our first summer here? Your mom taught me how to make her famous cherry pie in that kitchen. The one that woman said was a joke." She was finally seeing it. Not the wood and stone, but the memories infused into them. The laughter, the love, the history, the things she had taken for granted, the things that were about to be demolished for a helipad and an infinity pool. She finally broke. It wasn't the hysterical crying from before. It was a deep, ragged sobbing that came from the very core of her. She was mourning. After a long time, she picked up her phone. She called me. Her voice was thick with tears, but it was different this time. There was no demanding, no pleading. There was only raw, genuine remorse. "Marilyn," she started, her voice cracking. "Mom, I was so wrong. I was so wrong. I've been horrible and selfish and I was jealous." That one word hung in the air. Jealous. It was the first truly honest thing she had said. "I was jealous of what you built," she confessed, the words spilling out. "This house, your business, the way Evan looks at you. I felt like I could never measure up. So I tried to make it my own, to push you out. It was ugly, and I am so sorry. I'm sorry for not appreciating everything you've done for us, for me. I'm sorry for hurting you." I listened, saying nothing. The plan had been to teach her a lesson about value. But this confession, this moment of vulnerability, was more than I had expected. She wasn't just sorry she got caught. She finally understood why she was wrong. The lesson had been learned. It was time to end the play. The next morning, Evan and I drove to the lake house together. We walked in without knocking. Brooke was in the living room, listlessly wiping down the coffee table. She looked up when we entered, her eyes red and swollen. She looked exhausted, defeated, but also softer. She saw me and flinched, expecting another cold remark. Instead, I sat down on the armchair across from her. Evan stood quietly by the fireplace, a united front with me. "The house isn't for sale, Brooke," I said, my voice gentle but firm. She stared at me, confusion replacing the sadness in her eyes. "What?" "Mr. Abernathy is not a real estate agent. He's an actor. The woman who wanted to build a helipad? She's an actress." Brooke looked from me to Evan, her mouth slightly agape as the truth began to dawn on her. She saw the confirmation in her husband's grim expression. "It was all a plan," I explained calmly. "A very elaborate, very necessary plan." "I was in on it from the beginning," Evan added, his voice steady. "I could not stand by and watch you disrespect my mother and everything she has built for this family anymore. Love isn't a free pass, Brooke. It doesn't give you the right to be cruel or entitled." Brooke just shook her head slowly, a mixture of shame and disbelief on her face. I don't understand." I slid a folder onto the coffee table in front of her. She flinched, probably thinking it was a fake sales contract. "This isn't a contract," I said. "Open it." Hesitantly, she did. Inside, there were no legal documents. There were spreadsheets, property tax statements going back 20 years, invoices for roof repairs, for a new water heater, for landscaping services, a detailed breakdown of the annual costs of maintaining the property. "That," I said, pointing to the final number at the bottom of the page, "is the price of the memories. It isn't free, Brooke. It was earned. Through decades of hard work, through sacrifice, through budgeting and planning. It's the price of family. I needed you to understand that. I needed you to see this place not as your playground, but as a legacy. My legacy." She looked down at the papers. at the cold, hard numbers that represented the love and labor she had never seen. And for the first time, I think she truly understood. Several months passed. The chill of autumn arrived, painting the trees around the lake in brilliant shades of red and gold. The for sale sign was a distant memory, a strange dream, but its impact lingered. Something had fundamentally shifted in our family. It was Thanksgiving. The aroma of roasting turkey and cinnamon filled the lake house, a real comforting smell that chased away the phantom scent of stale party beer. I was in the kitchen, basting the bird. A moment later, Brooke came in, tying an apron around her waist. "Can I help?" she asked. Her voice was quiet, respectful. There was no trace of the old entitlement. "You can make the gravy," I said, nodding towards the stove. "The recipe is in that old wooden box. It was my mother's." She didn't just follow the recipe. She asked questions. "Why do you add the flour before the broth? Does it really need a full teaspoon of sage?" She was genuinely interested. She wasn't trying to take over. She was trying to learn. She was asking for a piece of the legacy to be passed down to her, the right way. Later, as we were all sitting down to eat, Evan stood to carve the turkey. He paused, knife in hand, and looked from me to Brooke, who were sitting side by side. He smiled a real, relaxed smile, the kind I hadn't seen on his face in a long time. "I'm thankful," he said simply, "for my family, all of us, together in this house." Brooke met my eyes across the table. In her gaze, I saw gratitude. I saw respect. And I saw the hard-won wisdom of someone who had almost lost everything. Our relationship wasn't perfect. There was still a fragility to it, a carefulness in our words. But it was real. We were building something new, on a foundation that was no longer taken for granted. The lesson had been painful, but it had been necessary. The house was safe. The family was healing. And for that, I was truly thankful. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment 1 below. If not, feel free to comment 0 so we know and can improve future videos. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. Thank you for watching.